So first, when trying to describe a planet in a sign, we know that the planet is the what and the sign is the how. In this case, Mars is the personal planet placement in our birth chart that shows what drives our actions. Our Mars sign can show our basic desires, what gets us up in the morning, and on one hand, it can describe the way we express our aggressions based on our animal instincts. So it can interpret the way we show anger. But on the other hand, Mars shows the expression of our sexual drives. In this Mars video series, through the signs, I will only be talking about the sexual side of Mars, the sexual feelings and techniques most comfortable to us, based upon each placement. Learning about one's Mars placement can not only literally explain how we approach these encounters, show what turns us on or off, but can also give us a deeper look into our motivations in the context of intimate relationships. If just learning astrology, I recommend anyone coming across this random video wanting to learn more about their own or other people's Mars sign to first check out a sort of intro vid I did, which I'll link below. A video I made to understand the deeper meaning behind Mars and a breakdown on how in astrology we correlate it to those drives. Understanding both the planet's signification and the sign archetype at the core can have us better understand them working cohesively. That's the art of interpretation. So Aquarius. Aquarius is one, if not my favorite zodiac sign for various reasons, but probably more so due to it being at a time where we're entering the age of Aquarius. Aquarius is the fixed air sign of the zodiac. The air element signifies mental and social experience, so the air signs of Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius rule over the mental body, the intellectual part of us. So Mars's sexual drives in Aquarius make it automatically stimulated through the mental plane. Aquarius is also a fixed sign, the fixed modality, as opposed to cardinal, which initiates, mutable, which adjusts. Fixed signs, which are one from each element, are all about sustaining concentrated energy, stubborn to change, having fixed ideas. Some Aquarius or 11th house descriptive keywords and some stuff they rule over are quirks, technology, the unexpected, new order, unorthodox, revolution, innovation, progressive, genius, originality, eccentricity, rebellion, being far out. I don't think sexuality in this day and age should be ruled by one specific sign. However, it is the essence and associated with the archetype of Scorpio, because sex is an experience that unites lovers as one, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. However, Aquarius here seeks to defy the norm because of their objective nature. So in this case, their drives and the way they go about sex will be non-traditional in its approach. They can have emotional detachment and depersonalization when it comes to the person or the object of their desire. See, whereas many people are driven by sexual agendas, Aquarius will not fall prey to their own libido and want to remain in control over their sensations without letting their hormones be a driving factor in their lives. They could consider themselves in some way beyond sex, being well aware of the collective emphasis the media and the world put on it. They feel being weighed down by desire can limit our potential or their potential as a person. So having a Mars in Aquarius makes someone a tough catch first and foremost. So this sounds a bit similar to Mars in Capricorn, but they don't repress it in the same way, and everything comes with a twist. They will give an air of unavailability, so you acknowledge sexual desire but dislike being restrained by it, leading one to have multiple affairs or partners at the same time. so that they don't have to fully commit to any of them. Whether that's because Aquarius wants to hide their true feelings or because they don't want to face them, and we know that it's something that is revealed through intimacy. But honestly, it could be more so because you're aware sexuality has been affected and tainted by the patriarchal society for so long, so you feel a strong Uranian freedom in repression, where having too many limitations on your own expression is not for you. Emotional condition and social restrictions that were established for centuries mean very little to you. Mars in Aquarius can rebel against the whole being married with a wife and 3 kids. So if you're dating someone with a lot of Aquarian energy, you either need to come to terms with your true intentions towards the relationship and communicate your values, or just be on the same page and accept this non-conventionality. Otherwise, don't be surprised by them having to hide things from you. Aquarius will be loyal, however, if they establish something. They are fixed. But if they haven't, then they like the thrill of newness, like preferring one-night stands over casual ongoing sessions. Aquarius loves exploring the human consciousness, which can bring them to be super kinky, wanting to experiment. They could have strong sexual desires that are not always realistic per se. Could be inclined to sexual deviations that others consider depraved. Being a fixed sign, they could be incredibly focused and specific about what they might enjoy, or specific things they'll do. So when in the act, when going to bed with them, they could like things or do things that come off as bizarre off the bat. Like they could shock even the most erotic people with some of the stuff they have saved and in store for you. This placement makes them explorative, not afraid to try new, exciting, taboo positions. This is a sign of aspirations and ideals. So they could have a utopian vision of what they want from sex, and they expect their current partner, whoever's there, to conform to it. But at the same time, being turned off by someone who completely gives in. So you see, they can honestly be filled with contradictions. But even though Aquarius can come off as extremely cold for more stable or water signs, like almost detached from the act, they could be the most unique partners and really make their partner feel special, and the perks of what they give in bed could be fitting to some and could outweigh any of the challenges they lack in other ways in intimacy. They could be open-minded and liberated when it comes to the idea of sex, but they could not have the strongest sex drive. This can also be a placement for many asexual folk, being without sexual feelings. Being that they are a futuristic sign, they may also just prefer things such as phone sex, cyber sex, like where they have no actual physical contact with a person. Mars and air signs are often into pornography. The vivid imagination creates the fantasy that arouses. This can be the people who really enjoy cam girls, for example, and like that interaction. They'll be the ones most intrigued by virtual reality and sex bots. Aquarius is the mad scientist of the zodiac, so you want to be free to experiment and be extremely inventive. So if not that, definitely the use of toys in bed will draw their attention and will want to use them. Anything that can heighten or innovate the experience overall. Or think someone incorporating a head-to-toe latex, which they'll keep on. Mind-stimulating stuff. Being an air sign makes them a sapiosexual as well, because where their best relationships are based on friendship that are not possessive. So they can have progressive ideas about sex and can do well in open relationships because they can prefer sex where they don't have to make any emotional connection. So they wouldn't be opposed to things like sex workers, where they can get their pleasure when they want but not have to tend to the person after or hurt anyone in the process of leading them on. They love flirting. They could be the type of delightful people who have their favorite coworker, their favorite preferred waitress at their regular restaurant. Aquarius is the sign of groups, and they wouldn't be opposed to group play as well. Even the most heterosexual people could consider having sex with the same sex. At the core, they will be turned on by people who are intelligent and who can stimulate their intellect first, beyond looks, but different to Gemini, who just wants to learn and be curious. Aquarius is specifically drawn to partners who are original or have something outside the norm, or different, similar to Sagittarius but more outside the box. They can date people that are completely unexpected and really get off the idea in some way. It can be superficial, but not in the Libra aesthetic way of attraction and how do we look as a couple, but more so in that they'll be turned on by someone of a goddess or godlike status, like a social high priestess, humanitarian, activist, politician who causes a kind of awe in others. When in a relationship, they want to feel they are being seen as a power couple on the surface with whatever boundaries they're pushing. So in public, they can be over the top with their affections towards that person, but yet it might have no substance. It's like everything important about sex just happens in their heads. Aquarius is an idealist, and many times they could also be the types to become attracted to like a friend they had for years that they didn't even bat an eye for in the beginning or see them in that light, but it grows on them. Now remember, this is me breaking down one placement and talking about the literal actions that can take place and drives, but other planets can really alter their values. They can hold values firmly. Aquarius is an interesting placement because depending on what country you're in or raised in, if you're in America, and being that we are already in a pretty sexually liberated society, Aquarius could potentially actually oppose all those ideals and see the fault in that and be on the complete opposite spectrum. They could see holding on more unique and special to try to build on something and make it work. You have to remember these individuals see sex tied to some larger purpose, which is why they can feel they do well alone without it. You have to think about the people that have that self-sacrifice, which can include intimate relationships, in order to get some bigger, worldly, compassionate reform achieved. We need those kinds of people in society. You may change your perspectives or views when crossing paths with Mars in Aquarius, and they will without a doubt rock your world in some way or another. So just be kind to them and let them sexually liberate you.